Hello and welcome to another episode of Hedgehog Makes. My name is Austin, aka Zombie Hedgehog, and today we are finally starting the 2.4 Tapchanger build, which we will be building the Stealthchanger version of, but I'll get into the details of that later. So this is a Toolchanger based off of the Voron 2.4. So it's going to use the gantry to go up and down to dock tools. I will explain as much as possible as I go through it, but I'm not an expert. I recommend checking the video description and looking at all the documentation down there. But first, we have to build a 2.4. So before that, this is being streamed live on Twitch. If you'd like to check out my Twitch streams, I have a link in the video description as well. And we have a couple people watching. So we have Dad's RC Craft Workbench, Dusty Knuckles, Macite, Collie. Welcome in everyone, and Incendium. So this has been quite the planning, quite the process, quite a lot of stuff goes into this. We have so much stuff, so much stuff with this build, and it all kind of has to work together. Numeric, welcome in. Actually, let me move this. Here are the extruders for the build. There we go. Get that LDO representation. So LDO did provide a discount on a 2.4 kit to use for this project. So huge shout out to LDO. I would really not be able to do this build without them. So you have their beautiful blue frame. If you're looking at building any Voron, whether it be a 2.4, Trident, one of the V0s, or anything they offer, I recommend going with LDO and picking a fancy color frame. I really like the blue. It's quite nice. And this build, I've gone with a really nice, let me see if I can find the piece. A really nice set of colors. So we're doing a blue frame, and we have Polymaker. They now have Galaxy Black and Galaxy Dark Gray ABS. So these are the two colors we're using. It is a little bit unconventional, but I think it's going to look really good. So those two colors together, and that's going to be the whole entire build. So very, very, very excited to start working on this. So this is part one of however many parts it's going to take. We're going to have to build this printer as a standalone 2.4. So there's going to be some slight modifications to it, but I want to make sure, and I recommend this to you if you're building this printer, make sure you have a known working 2.4 before you start converting it. It should be extremely easy to convert this printer after the fact, and if you already have a 2.4 they'd like to convert, you might be able to do that after. So stay tuned for the series, watch me struggle through various things, and hopefully we'll have a nice working tool changer at the end of this. Welcome in, Maker Viking. Nice to see you. Stephen Poole. Anyone else might have dipped in? What else is there to talk about? So let me go over the projects first. That's probably a good starting point. But hey, if you're watching on YouTube, you've already forgotten to hit that like button, so make sure to hit it. It does help out the channel a ton. I only say that because it does help out. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We do lots of printer builds and then 3D printer content, but looking to ramp that up a lot more in the future. That being said, let's take a look at the documentation for this printer. So this is Tapchanger. I will post this link in the video description. But TLDR, this is a Toolchanger for a Voron 2. Right now, 2.4, but it's for a Voron 2 design. Shenanigans, thank you for the raid. We are streaming live on Twitch, so sometimes we'll get some raiders coming in. Welcome on in. How was your stream? So yeah, this is the... There's lots of versions of the Tapchanger. So this one right here is the Tapchanger Lite. So right now there's 3-ish versions. This is the light version. It uses bearings and rods and metal parts to ride on for the carriages. So it'll dock into one of these tools. But this right here is essentially how this system's going to work. I'll be referencing it as Tapchanger for quite a bit of it, but do note that the actual mechanism in which the dock, whatever parts we use, that might change over time because this is still in beta and stuff might change. So this right here is a 350 2.4 with 6 dragon burner sized tool heads docked up here. So that's kind of the maximum that this will support. So this will be a 6 tool changer. All right. It has a little, I would call this a locating probe down at the bottom. So this will align the tools. More on that later as we progress into the build. And if you want to see more about this, check out the documentation. But this is how it works. You'll have your carriage, your X carriage, and that will dock into a tool and lift it up, and then it'll put it into a dock and lower. So typically on a tap type setup, it can't come out of the, it can't just pop out like that. You don't want that. So this utilizes a different design to allow the whole entire carriage to come out. So previous versions of this included a actual linear rail version. That's what got this project going, is literally taking tap and then using that as a tool changer. But there is a couple of downsides with it. Even though it can be pretty rigid, people are afraid of misaligning the docking procedure. You might lose ball bearings, etc. So this version was invented, and this is the main version right now. But there is a new version that was just kind of released, and that is Stealthchanger. Again, this might change over time. This project seems to be evolving pretty fast, but we'll probably be using the Stealthchanger version. I have all the parts ordered for it. So essentially, you have 2 parts right here. Okay, these are my parts. You have 2 parts right here, and actually have them out front of me. And they will dock back and forth like that. And instead of using bearings, these use sleeves and pins or dowels. So a dowel will go into here. There's going to be 3 dowels instead of bearings or linear rail, etc. And so far, this mechanism has been beta tested and allegedly successful. So here is a small video of the tool changing procedure. So they're using full-size stealth burners, which is fine. You can do that. I would recommend a dragon burner for increased cooling, and it's just smaller. So you can actually, I believe you can fit more of them on a single printer. So that is the current development. Note that these might change over time, and stick around for the ride. All right. So that is those are the 2 different versions. We'll be building for a couple of streams, just a 2.4. So I do have a build series where I built a 2.4, the green one over there, on my channel. So if you'd like to go back and check that out, maybe get some extra context on how a 2.4 works, that will be your main source. Otherwise, check out some of the other streamers on YouTube. Steve Builds does a lot of builds. He has a 2.4 build, Modbot as well, and of course a couple others. So there's many videos on how to build a 2.4, so don't use this as a guide to build your 2.4, but we do have a couple of special changes that we'll be making. We are building a mostly stock LDO kit, but with a few changes. So number one, the gantry. We're going to go right to Dragon Burner because I kind of want to try out what a Dragon Burner looks like as a, as a Stealth Burner replacement. So a Dragon Burner, which is the tool head that I have on here, it's a little mini V0 tool head with two 4010 blower fans, and with powerful enough fans, it cools as good or better than a Stealth Burner. And Stealth Burner, as you know, is quite big. It is fairly heavy. So Dragon Burner is smaller and can cool better. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer, and it supports as many hot ends extruders as Stealth Burner and some. So it's a really nice ecosystem to get into. There's a ton of mods for it, and one of the mods I'll be using is the just came off the printer actually, is the MGN 12 mount. So default, it's supposed to mount on a V0, right? So it should be mounted on V0, but you can adapt it to almost any printer natively now. All of the Voron printers specifically. So let me show you that. So if you built a Voron before, this is the mount for the back. So this is where the belts tie into. So that'll go up and against the carriage. And then you have, that's actually a support piece. Then that's where your Dragon Burner goes. And this version right here is even cooler because we're going to be using a probe. Not sure yet. We'll see what I can do. But it goes like this and like this. So we'll have the option of a probe. We can use PCB clicky, beacon if we really wanted to. That's supported on here. Anything, there's a couple of options, but for the most part, it's going to be clicky or beacon. I'm going to see if the inductive probe fits on here. I kind of want to know. That's why I printed it to test out. But yeah, that's the dock or the mount for your Dragon Burner. And of course, Dragon Burner just screws into these 4 screws. Dragon Burner 8 is the current release. So that'll be the plan. And I want to see if how that works as a standalone tool head. Be kind of cool. It's gonna look really small because this is a 350 and Dragon Burner is very small. I think I have one around here. Maybe. Yeah, down here. Dragon Burner is very, very small. Looks like this. So it's gonna be a tiny tool head. And that goes to show, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these lined up on the front. It's pretty narrow. But yeah, this will be cool. I'll be able to mount. You can do this on your printer too if you want to switch over from Stealth Burner to Dragon Burner. It's as simple as printing off these parts. They go right on to the end of it, and yeah, that's it. You have this tiny little tool head plus an extruder on the top. We can go boating. So yeah, that's the plan. I mean, hey, I already have a gray one printed. I can just use that. I forgot. I just printed off a bunch of these for fun. So we already have a little tool head we can use. Great. All right. I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions who's watching live? CP Geek, so the plan is to build this standalone first. Without the mechanism for the Tapchanger, Stealthchanger, etc. I need to make sure that this works. It's known working and it can print perfect before I switch over to a Tapchanger or Toolchanger. If it's printing bad before I convert it, converting it over is not going to magically fix something. So I need to make sure that everything is smooth. I don't know if I have the probe around. I took it out because I said, I'll never use this. LDO kits, for some reason, still come with an inductive probe. And inductive probes have one major flaw. Yeah, this guy right here. They don't really work well in heated chambers because they drift. The actual measurement changes as the heat increases. This is an Omron probe. It is probably the best of the Voron probes, but I've heard that these just don't work great over time, so people end up switching over to something like Clicky, or now just straight up Tap, or Boop if you're on a smaller printer. So let's see. I'm gonna see if this will physically mount, and it looks like it will. Yep. So we will be able to use the inductive probe per the stock build. That'll be fun. That'll mount on the bottom of this right here. This is the probe adapter for Dragon Burner. So it has the 2 screws, and I'll be able to align that perfectly wherever it needs to go. Very similar to how you install a probe on a stealth burner. So that's cool. And I've never actually used one of those probes, so I'll finally get to experience it. And I'm not going to be enclosing it. I'm not going to be printing ABS before I test out Tapchanger, probably. So it'll be fine for us for now. Austin K, thank you for the 5-month sub. Love the blue frame. I do too. It's pretty awesome. Hold fast. What are your thoughts on Elegoo Neptune 3 Plus? I have not used it personally. I've heard actually that people seem to like it. There's also the Neptune 4 that runs Clipper now. That might be worth looking into. But I don't have a direct experience with any Elegoo printer, actually. I have an Anycubic, not an Elegoo. Love to try one out one of these days, though. Alright. That's really enough procrastinating. So, to get going, we are going to start building a 2.4. So we're going to be following the main build guide for most of this. Now, I do have a couple of basic mods. My front idlers, the beefy front idlers, I gave you a sneak peek of that right here. So instead of the stock Voron idlers, we'll be using these. There's almost no reason to use the stock idlers because these ones are so much easier to service, so much easier to run belts when you're initially building it. And it's going to have better adjustments, better tensioning. So I would recommend getting these. I'm actually using a version that takes a, how would you call it, a M5 screw instead of the pin. So we'll see how that works out. And then we're also going to be using the beefy Z idlers because it's 4. So we have these guys right here, just little beefy Z idlers. Guess we'll figure it out. Might have all the parts for it. Not 100% sure. I think it's the same situation or a similar situation where it kind of just goes up and down and is, quote, beefy. Maybe. We'll see. We're not going to be doing that today. What else? So Dragon Burner right away. Oh, electronics. I haven't decided what we're going to use for a board yet. I might go with a Manta board. So I have a Manta M8P version 2, which does support CAN directly without any other modifications. So I don't need any adapters, and I've already configured a bunch of those, and it's really easy. So I might just go with that. We're going to be using 6 CAN toolheads by the end of this. Our initial setup will actually use an EBB 36 toolhead for testing, so like a single CAN toolhead. And then we're going to go and just add 5 more. Just add 5 toolheads. No big deal. All right, so to start off the build, we need to build the frame. Hey, I have almost built the frame. Did that off stream because that's one of the things where you don't really get anything by watching me. So yeah, I built it and I squared it up. So I got to this point, and now we have to install the bed rails. So let's do that. I gotta find my little corner brackets. They should be around here somewhere. I've seen them. So, those. Thinking this is gonna take a long time. It's a 2.4 build, and spoiler alert, I will be working on this off stream a little bit. All of the non-critical stuff, like the regular 2.4 assembly, I'll be doing as much as possible off stream. I wanted to wait though to start fresh and explain as I go. So that's why I haven't started yet. And I had a couple of other projects. I just finished up a V0. You can see that behind the screen. So that's printing very fantastic right now. And then I also have a Micron Plus beta kit that I've been putting together for West 3D, and that is almost completed. Oh wow. Let's see if I'm actually gonna be able to find these. Might be in one of these bins down here. So anyone who's watching live, what do you guys think of Toolchangers in general? Prusa is the first, as far as I'm aware, the first company to bring a Toolchanger to kind of the hobby level. E3D had a Toolchanger, but it was more of a motion system, and you had to be kind of an expert in order to configure it and, you know, determine what you're going to use. So that was a pretty cool concept, but a lot of people didn't get one because all the work you'd have to do to set it up. So yeah, we have Prusa with the XL, and we're going to talk about that quite a bit as we build this. If I can find the part. Have a good night, Maker Viking. Thank you for stopping by. And Randy, welcome in. You get your kit tomorrow. Awesome. Yeah, CP Geek, you're right. About 3 to 4 days to build. I give it around 20 hours if I wasn't streaming. So probably around 30 hours with streaming to build a printer like this. I think it's like 6 episodes or so to get built. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be building it off stream because you don't need to see me build a 2.4. But I will go over all of the changes I made, including when I do the Z-axis, not the Z-axis, the gantry is going to have a very specific homing setup. It's going to use sensorless for the X and then a end stop on the Y. So that's actually, oh, did I print off the right parts for that? Note to self, reprint this idler assembly that actually supports that. Okay, can someone message me on Discord to remind me to do that? I got to reprint the AB motors, the A motor. There's a version that has a spot for an end stop, and I need to set that up. There's a company in the UK that was first after E3D. I've just never really heard of anything until the XL. XL really, they brought tool changing to the home user. As far as the majority of people, as far as I can tell. Wow, I seem to, per tradition, I seem to have missed the first part I need to start this build, which are little corner brackets. I've had these things, I've been throwing them around for like a week because they're in my way, but I'm not sure where they last. Do we have to install that first? I'm not sure. I think we can skip it for now, and then let's work on the Z joints. I don't know if we need the panel. Do we need this bottom panel in before we put the Z joints in? Not 100% sure. If anyone knows, that would be good. You're screaming in chat if you're watching the future. Wait, no, you need to stop. You need to find these things and install them. Right somewhere. Probably right from it. I'll find them as soon as I stop the stream. But they come in a little baggie that I've definitely just kind of put somewhere. Like, I'll definitely know where that is. I definitely don't, so. Oh well. They might obscure it. That's what I was afraid of. We can at least build... We can build all the Z idlers before installing them. Right? So let's do that. Let's start working on the Z idlers. If you're watching this... if watching this live, you can skip ahead to around this part. If you're just hearing this, you've already watched all this and be like, wow, this guy is probably the worst Voron builder who loses every single part. I've been watching too much ModBot, I feel like. I don't know. Alright, well, let's skip this part and pretend that we have this bottom panel on. Let's go to here. So we're gonna be installing these right here. So this is the Z drive. So if you're unaware how a 2.4 works, it is a belted Z, one on each corner. And this is a gear reduction. So you have your motor mounted here. And then there's a whole gear reduction mechanism that takes place. So this is a listing of each drive. So if you're trying to locate your drives, your front left drive is Z0, and it goes clockwise. So Z0, Z1, Z2, Z3. And then a typical build will have these Z idlers, but we have the beefy Z idlers instead of those. Oh, linear rails. That's right. It wants us to go straight into linear rails. Do you guys want to do linear rails, or do you want to start working on the Z? Oh, did I print off the alignment tools for that? I'm actually not sure. I don't think I did. Yeah, let me print off those real quick. So yeah, that's gonna be our option, is waiting for me to print things. Good start to a build. This first one is really just kind of a introduction to the Toolchanger, and then answering any questions that you guys might have watching this live. So let me go in and preheat the 2.4. Sorry, not the 2.4. The Voron. God, Trident. Preheat the Trident, and then load up the files I need. So let's talk about the Prusa XL for a little bit. The reason why I am very excited about this project is because, number one, if all goes well, if this is built to specification, I'll have 6 tools. The Prusa XL has 5 tools. And while that might seem like a lot of multi-color prints now are around 6 colors. In order to get, all of the colors in to make things color accurate. When I talk about multi-color prints, stuff like this. Something like this has a lot of tool swaps. And on a printer like the Bamboo that's printed on, it means that there's a ton of purge. So with the Toolchanger, you're able to print anything like that without any waste. And by any waste, I mean there is a very, very, very negligible amount of waste. Enough to just prime the nozzle. Not much waste at all. So I'll be able to do a 6-color print on this. That's pretty good. So that's benefit number 1 of building the Tapchanger. Number 2, it's probably going to cost about $1,000 less than the equivalently priced Prusa. So yes, you do have to build. You got to build it, but you'll be saving. I'm estimating around $1,000. Estimating. It could be more, it could be less, but around that price, which is very, very appealing to me. Because I wanted an XL. I wanted that Toolchanger, but Prusa, at least at this time, is still kind of beta testing them and hasn't fully released it after over 2 years of development. So your mileage may vary. Yeah, I'm going to totally find these parts that I need after the stream. It always happens. It always happens. But hey, let's start off with this. So these are the Z idlers. Or not Z idlers. The Z... What do you call these? I call them like belt drive assembly gear reduction thingies. It takes the motor and just does a gear reduction on it. That's all. Because you want the extra torque to drive the gantry up and down, plus you want extra precision over the stock motor. So that's one of the main benefits of 2.4. You get extra precision on the Z-axis. So we need a lot of heat sets. So let me bust in the kit and see what we have. So LDO, this is an LDO kit, and they provide this. This is an obscene amount of parts. Like an absolutely crazy amount of parts. And this is kind of what it takes to build one of these printers. But you might think, wow, there's no way that it can use all of these fasteners. And no, you actually don't use all of these. They give you a lot extra, which is really nice because, you know, if you're building something like this, the last thing you want to do is run out of parts. So LDO makes sure you're not going to run out of parts. They include extras. So yes, one of the benefits of building a Toolchanger is that you can use support filament. One of the cheapest ways of doing supports is, as you mentioned in chat, you can use PLA and PETG interchangeably as support filaments for each other. And no, we're not giving away orbiters. I need all of these for this printer. That's why they're kind of lined up. And we're actually using the stealth press to assemble, heat it up, I guess, to assemble all of these parts. So yes, I do plan on at least trying, you know, PETG with PLA. All the things. I'll be able to use carbon fiber nylon. I have some Polymaker support filament specifically for nylon. I'll be able to try that out. I'll be able to optimize all that. I'm excited to see, you know, lots of different things you can do. It is not like regular 3D printing once you start getting multiple materials involved. You can insert different materials into your print, like TPU. You could do multicolor TPU, multi-shore TPU. Endless possibilities. Not just color changing. That's what I'll be using it probably the most for, is multicolor print without waste. And saving time on multicolor prints. MakerTech. Okay, MakerTech apparently has a Toolchanger. So it's a 4-tool Toolchanger. I think I've seen this one before. Yeah, I think I might have seen that before. And that's still very expensive. We're talking around, looks like $3,000 for 4 tools. That's still going to be more expensive than this build, given this is fully assembled. I don't know if that one comes assembled. But this is just another option. And of course, this is an open source project, so stuff might change. And if you want to make changes yourself, you certainly can. I know that there's already been quite a few different attempts to make the carriage the best as possible. And at the end of this, we might get a better tap system. Instead of using a linear rail, they might actually be rods and pins. Who knows? Or rods and bushings. So the cool thing about this printer, the Tapchanger, is that you'll be able to use it with really whatever tool you want, as long as you can dock it. So I'll be using dragon burners to save space, and because I really like dragon burner. But I see people using stealth burners for whatever reason. Maybe your configuration, you want to use a stealth burner. If you have the stealth burner PCB, that might make sense. Oh boy, I have a lot of heat sets to do. Okay, we're gonna be here for a while. So one heat set down out of, or one part out of about 10,000. So let's just chat. Nyko already has a 2.4 Tapchanger built. Damn. Let me guess, you started yesterday too. I'm actually interested if anyone's going to take apart their 2.4, whether it's a 2.4 350 or maybe even a 300, like what I have behind me. I think this might influence people to tinker with their printers. So let me know down in the comments below. Are you watching this in anticipation of upgrading your own 2.4, or are you starting from scratch when you build this? I want to know. For me, I don't have a 350 2.4, so in order to get the full 6 tools, you need that size, at least as of now. So Dust Knuckles building from scratch. And then learning from my mistakes. Yep, that's why I'm streaming it. I'm not guaranteeing this to be a guide, but I will be documenting my progress. Might try a toolhead on your hot rod trident. Yeah, so that's another thing. I'll be trying out Dragon Burner solo for the first time on a big printer. So that'll be fun to try. Okay, technically I've already put a rapid burner on my big printer with a Rapido ultra high flow. And it works good. A couple of vendors have some high performance fans, so extremely high performance 4010 blower fans. And those seem to work out well. Possibly, but you have to get your build finished first. Yeah, that's my issue. I never finish builds. And even when I get them finished, like, are they really finished? I'm gonna, are you kidding? One of the only builds I've actually finished, and it's still not done, is the V0. I'm still waiting on a couple parts for it, but it's printing, it's functional. And it prints good, so I'm happy enough with that. Yeah, if you have any questions about this build, if you're watching this live, you can of course hit me up in my Discord. I have a link in the video description if you want to join my Discord and chat about whatever. If you have questions, want to reach out to me, feel free to. I also have a Patreon, so if you want to ask me stuff in private, go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon. And I can even set up a private chat with you if you want. I think for one of the tiers, I'll do a video walkthrough, like set up a time and you can ask questions and I'll do my best to answer. No guarantees though. But I do have quite a few printers and I've learned a lot by building my own printers, helping others build printers, and then just kind of being a part of the community for a while. So I like building printers. That is pretty fun for me. I'm an engineer, so I like the ability to tinker, try different things, and I enjoy building printers that no one else has. That's why I was excited to get involved with the Rolohan projects when, he was still just getting started with these printer designs. Then he made the Rook, and his channel blew up, and he's making all kinds of designs now. So that's fun. But I just like all these random printer designs that are coming out. I can't afford to build them all, but, I'll build as many as I possibly can. Stuck in the wiring. Yes, wiring can be an issue. That's a good time to point out the LDO kit. So if you're building a printer, LDO probably has the most complete documentation on wiring for any Voron printer that I've seen. There might be a couple other vendors that also do wiring diagrams, but LDO includes pictures. They label all their stuff. You rarely have to do any crimping, maybe if you're using a custom hot end, but it should be reasonably easy compared to just having all the parts and having to wire it by yourself. That could be kind of a nightmare. So they include everything you need, including a configuration. So if you're unsure of wiring, I recommend going with an LDO kit for that reason. I was pretty impressed when I built my Trident. Okay, so we have all of those, then we have more heat sets. This is something that you can typically do off stream too. Note to streamers, you can do all your heat sets off stream. But this gives me a good time to chat with chat. Chat with chat. And then, print things that I forgot to print. That's always typical. And if you enjoy what you're watching and want to support the channel, I do have merch. I have, quote, the softest t-shirts that you might ever wear. So check out the video description for that. I know everyone who's ordered them has been extremely happy, but do note that the sizes might run a little bit on the snug side. So if you're unsure, just size up one size. But I do have embroidered hats as well. I have baseball hats and beanies. And they come in single color and multicolor to match my logo. Pretty cool. I like the hat quite a bit. And it's a good color. This stealth press has been pretty nice. Compared to just having a heat, a regular, having this not on the press, you gotta put it down, you gotta make sure you're not gonna burn anything. The nicest thing about the heat press is that it goes somewhere when I'm not using it automatically, just comes out of the way. So I'm able to either hold a part up to it and press it in, or press it down. So both of those situations work out pretty well. Oh, so many heat sets. I'm just doing all these at once because it kind of makes sense. Do all of them for a section of the build so you don't go back and forth doing heat sets. And I don't want to forget any, because that's the worst when you get a whole assembly put together and then you realize you forgot a heat set. That's not fun. So just a couple more here. I also do recommend printing out a Steve Builds hex tray for this. I actually forgot to print one. I'll have one for next stream. But it's useful for just organizing all your fasteners as you're working on them. Instead of putting fasteners on the table or pulling them out of bags, you can kind of lay them out. Alternatively, you can use something like Modbot's parts bin or another type of parts bin that looks something like this. So you can print this. It's a lot of work, but you can print this and There's a bigger version for a 2.4. You can put all of your screws in before you start. And then you label these with label maker, and it's a lot quicker than trying to search through all the bags. I did this for my V0, and it's a little overkill, but it did make the process pretty smooth. Yes, you can buy an extra large one and use it as a blanket, I guess. Okay, oh, I've already done this one. Is that it? I think I still have a couple more. Still more. Lots of parts. Lots of parts. So this build is going to be printed probably all in Polymaker ABS or ASA. So thank you to Polymaker for sending over filament for this build. I really, really enjoy the printability of Polymaker filaments. Most of my prints up to this date have been Polymaker, and all my builds, for the most part, have been Polymaker. West 3D is now selling their Ambrosia filament, and that's worked out pretty well too. But when I just need something to work, I turn to Polymaker. That's probably the best ad I can give them. You know, no fighting with a random spool from a random company. I just kind of use Polymaker and it works. Is that black or Galaxy Black? So this is all Galaxy Black because why not? I really like the Galaxy Black. So Galaxy Black and Galaxy Dark Gray, because I have a blue frame, so I wouldn't really want to do a colored accent for this build. And all of our tools are going to be a rainbow. So we'll have like a different color for each tool and then line it up like a rainbow. I thought that would be kind of cool. And I'll call each tool, you know, red tool, blue tool, green tool, yellow tool. That'd be fun, right? I try to do a special color theme for all my printers. And actually I've done on the original 2.4, I had a green frame and I did light gray and regular gray. Well, Polymaker calls it dark gray, but it's kind of a regular gray. And that's worked out really nice. I like how it looks. It says your tools sometimes. That's funny. So, all right, that is all of the heat sets for this. Now we need to find all of our things. So we're going to need shafts and pulleys. Shafts and pulleys. So we're going to be building the main section. So I have some foam tape. I'm going to put that back in the box. So I need pulleys. I think I need, okay, these are 20-tooth pulleys. Okay, so I have 4 20-tooth pulleys in a bag. Oh, these are also 9mm pulleys. These are wide ones. And then I need shafts. Those are here as well. I'll start with that. And then I will angle my camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Maybe. All right, cool. Voron Toolchanger, yes. So TLDR, this is going to use the tap style of mechanism with a dock mounted on the frame of the 2.4, and using the 2.4's ability to move the gantry up and down, we'll be able to dock the tools at the top. This will not work on a trident style, so a fixed gantry. You need a different style of mechanism for that, unfortunately. So these are our pins, and these are the pulleys. And I do believe we have a special treat from the LDO kit, so let me find that. Let me see. Cool, looks like the part on the trident is done. Usually when I'm doing something like this on stream, or if I'm just building a printer. I'll keep one of my printers preheated for ABS, so I can just send a print to it. Oh, what am I doing? Should be over in the... shoot, where would it be? So LDO includes a separate set with grub screws, and I gotta find those. I think it might be... Is it in the fastener kit? Where are those located? Does anyone remember off the top of their head where grub screws are located? I'm guessing it's in the fasteners, but I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of a small bag with little grub screws. This is not a kit. Maybe in the future there will be a kit if it becomes popular enough. That's why I'm building it, so I can see if other people want to build it, and then maybe people will be interested in a kit. This is not my design, but I will be helping with any testing and development of it as I go forward. But I need to have a printer built so I can test it. There we go. Grub screws. Nero, these are not candy. Do not eat them. I know they look extra fancy because LDO includes free Loctite tighted grub screws. So something very important with this type of printer is you do not want these loosening as the printer vibrates. So this is what holds the idler in place. So if these loosen, then you'll start having issues. So these come pre-Loctited. If you are not using LDO kit and you're building a generic printer, you will need to buy some type of Loctite, either the liquid form or I'd recommend the chapstick version. So this one looks kind of like that. And you can what I do is I put the grub screw on the end of a screwdriver, and then I just kind of coat one side very lightly. It doesn't take much. And that's worked out. So do not forget that. You might run into issues long term. So these were located in the fasteners, which it's technically a fastener. So there we go. So this wants us to... So first thing I'm going to do is install all of the grub screws into these pulleys. I think these take an M or a 2mm. Yes, and make sure to get blue Loctite for these builds. There might be some other colors you can use, but I think red is definitely on the avoid list. Anything that's considered permanent is on the avoid list, because one of these days you will have to take this apart. So I'm just going to preset in these grub screws just enough so they're flush, and I can kind of feel that the Loctite is giving a bit of resistance, which is good. That's exactly what you want to do. Oop. So I kind of just stick it on the tip of my driver and then screw it in. So get these all done in batches. Candy. Yes, coated. These are coated grub screws. Even more delicious. Don't eat these, please. This one is not going in. Let's see. Let's see. Why is that not going? Needs a little bit of force, I guess. All right. So we'll see how far I get today. I don't know if I'm going to stream super long. This is more of an introduction to the build, but I will be streaming these live on Twitch and then posting them onto YouTube after the fact. That worked out pretty well for the Micron build, so I'll do the same thing. If you have any suggestions between builds, maybe different angles you want to see, different layout or something, let me know, and I can modify the stream a bit. All right, almost done with these. 2.4 gets a little bit repetitive, I'll say, because you have to do everything 4 times. Starts to become a little bit repetitive. It's not too bad though. Once you get into the swing of things, your build will be done. But it's been a while since I built a 2.4. The Micron is sort of a 2.4, but it's just miniaturized, and things are slightly different. Ever so slightly different. Alright, so put these grub screws back. We'll need them for other parts momentarily. I actually quite like working on this desk pad. This is an LTT desk pad, but you can use really any desk pad. And it's nice because fasteners won't roll away. They kind of just stay on the surface. And it's a really nice, comfortable surface to work on. So I like it. So that's these 4. Again, we're gonna do stuff in steps. Now we need to insert this onto the shaft. So this shaft has a smooth side to it. This is going to be very similar to your motor shaft too. So it looks like a D. And you want to make sure that one of the grub screws lines up with the smooth side on the shaft perfectly. So you want to take this and screw it in on the smooth side first. That makes sure you have a really good contact and that this is not going anywhere. So I'm just going to give it a slightly just snug fit just to get it on. And then we have to measure. I'll see if I have my... I think this is an approximation. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be very close. So 33 millimeters. I'm just going to use a ruler because I think more people are likely to have rulers. So when you're building a Voron, make sure you're using your Voron design ruler. Oh, I love these things. If you ever go to a show and you can get one, Voron is sponsoring the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival. So make sure to see if they have any. If they don't, then oh well. So let's get this close enough. I'm just going to look at it over here. So 33, 31, 32, 33. If you have calipers, those will work better. I encourage you using calipers. I don't know if one of the tools acts as a guide for this either. Usually there's like a pulley guide. Alternatively, let's check one thing out. So this uses little bearings. And let me see if this is correct. So looking at the diagram right here, this is our assembly. So we'll have a bearing, this giant 80-tooth pulley, M5 shims, 625 bearing, 2 more shims, and then the pulley, and then another bearing. So I don't know. I think that these 2 on the sides don't touch, but the middle one does. So you want that to be kind of correct. So as long as you're within an approximate distance for this, you should be fine. You should get West 3D to carry the board rulers. That'd be cool. So you can see that, yeah, the outside idler, or the outside bearings, don't have to be perfect, and they're not touching either side. So you just want to make sure that this middle bearing is somewhat centered. So if you're off a little bit on this measurement, you should be fine. Okay? So let's just build one of these, and I'll show you how it works. So we will need to add a couple more grub screws for the 20-tooth pulley, I think. Let's double check. So the LDO kit provides these absolutely gorgeous pulleys. I love these so much. So they don't come with grub screws. We'll have to install them. They should just be the same ones right here. And these are visible when you're done the build, which is fun. I do have these in my original 2.4, and they're nice. So the grub screw will screw way, way deep in there. You'll have to really screw. So what I like to do is just watch it. Watch that center. Look at it until, and then go until the grub screw, you can kind of see it poking out. And then back it off. So here you can see that the grub screw is starting to stick through. That's too much. Back it off until you can see straight through the hole without any obstruction. So that way we can just slide this on and then get them tightened up. So do not forget these grub screws. In fact, let's just do them all because why not? Let's bring it to the front and do them. So, question for chat and for the comments if you're watching this after the fact. What tools, what configuration of tools would you go with if you're building this? So I'll be using Dragon Burner with some reasonably cheap hot ends that I found on AliExpress. I will have a link to those in the video description, and I'll be talking about those more after the fact, but I'll be starting off with those. If a company wants to sponsor me and send me six hot ends, I will swap them out. But for now, that's what I have. I'll be using these 6 Orbiter V2s. The reason why I'm not building my own extruder is because I want consistency. I want every single tool to be exactly the same. And with Orbiter, I can rely on that. I generally don't have to ever adjust the E-steps. I kind of just install the Orbiter, set it to the stock settings, and it works. And combined with the fact I don't have to build them, means it's going to save me a ton of time. I just screw it onto the top. Most of the times when I'm building a Dragon Burner, I'm using Orbiter because of that. Just slots on top. So we'll be using that with the EBB 36 boards. I was able to get them reasonably cheap, but there's other types of boards. Mellow has a couple. I like the connectors on the Mellow boards a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can use Stealth Burner boards without Stealth Burner. Maybe there's an adapter. But there's some pretty nice Stealth Burner boards that come with cables. You have lots of options. And I'm going to show you one option, but feel free to deviate. You can build your own extruders. No problem with that. If you want to go with Galileo for all of them, sure, go for it. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to YouTube yet, why not? It's fun. You get to watch hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of this type of content. Like things that just work. Yep, I do too. Or 3 orbiters today, 2 for the 2.4 build. 2 for the 2.4 build. Toolchanger build? Or something else? Am I missing something? You'd have some diversity of hot ends to use the benefits of each. Well, that's smart thinking. A couple optimized for PLA, 1 for DPU, a couple for high temp filaments. So that's the thing. This tool head combination should be able to handle most materials. It can go all the way up to, nylons, carbon fiber nylons, but then still be able to print TPU without too much issue. But yeah, if there is a specific extruder that you like for, let's say, TPU, that works really well, LGX Lite, I've heard that works pretty good because you have that tension dial you can select back. That's pretty cool. But for this situation, because I want all tools kind of performing the same, I'll be doing a lot of multicolor prints on here. with various, various materials, I kind of want them to act like the same tool as much as possible. That's why I'm going with the same configuration. All right, one more grub screw. Oh my god, so many grub screws. Going to start with the two tool setup for now. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and that's the thing with this build. You can start with one tool if you wanted to. And then you can see if you like the printer, how it works, which you're going to. You're going to love it. And then you can just do a two-tool build. No problem with that at all. I'm going all out because I want every single one of those tools working. My goal is 5, and if I can get 6, then even better. Even better. One issue will be the cable management. The tools dock on the front right here. So all of the cables come up above here. So there's going to be a pretty big top hat. I might see if LDO has any of these frame kits that are kind of damaged or they can't sell them. And then just kind of salvage the, another set of blue. That'd be fun. Otherwise, I can just use some black extrusion. Hello, Aura? VFX? Welcome on in. Thank you for stopping by. I'm doing pretty good. This build has been, well, we haven't really done much on it, but it's going smooth enough, if you call that smooth. Smooth enough for now. All right. And hello, Aussie. So let's see. We got all the grub screws in here. Now we can start assembling. We do need our shims as well. So LDO includes precision brass shims. These are unlike some of the other shims that are used. These ones will be, precision. They're brass. They're not like regular washers that are stamped. So let's see if I can find them. Again, it's best to go through and kind of organize these before you start. I'm keeping them all together because I don't have my hex trays printed yet. I gotta do that after the stream. Oh, I got little mini set screws, M3. I don't know what that's for, but we'll figure that out. Aha, here we go. So these are our precision shims. So these will be used as spacers for a lot of our different sections. It's all back. I usually do this. I'll put everything in, and I'll typically, as I start a build, I'll dump out a bunch of parts. I think I actually did that already. Didn't I already print off a hex tray for this? Now that I'm thinking about it. One that has Christmas colors. Oh yeah, I did. I totally did. Nice. I printed this out and started using it for other projects, but these were the fasteners that I used. So let me just put this aside, and I can start using this. I got a one random section of misfit fasteners. Always the case. All right. So these shims, I can just put them on the table and only take out as many as I need. I'm comfortable not losing them. I'm building inside the frame, so I'm not just gonna dump them everywhere. So let's just take a bunch out for now and then put them back when I'm done. It's nice to keep them in the bag because they're all organized, etc. So this was, going back to this step, we have this right here, and then we have 2 shims. 1, 2. We'll have a bearing. These are the 625 bearings. Those slide on. Then I'll need 2 more shims. 1, 2. I'm looking at the guide right now on the manual. I'll show that right after the fact. And then we have our big 80 tooth pulley. So just as before, we're going to line this up with one of the grub screws. Doesn't matter how you install it, just make sure that the flat shaft has a grub screw lined up with it. So line it up with this one right here if you need to. But this is when you take this thing and you're going to want to kind of press it together, right? So kind of press this together and kind of hold it snug as you screw this in. So I kind of do like this right here. You could even hold it like this if you wanted to, but just hold it in place so that this makes contact. And that's important to keep everything firm. So just like that. So before I forget, I'm going to screw in the other grub screw as well. And this is a great check. I don't think I screwed this one in. Yeah, I didn't. Great check to get all 4 grub screws screwed in. You do not want these loose. You don't want them excessively tight, but you don't want them super loose. Very, 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 very important note. Do not use a ball end driver, which looks like this. Do not use a ball end driver to tighten grub screws. You have a chance of stripping them, and if you strip a grub screw, you're going to have a very bad day because you'll never be able to get it out. You have been warned. All right. So just by visual inspection, it looks like we have more shaft on this side than this side. So if I wanted to, I can actually move this whole assembly over to kind of center it. And I think I'm going to. And I'll use this one as a reference when I build the others on where to put it. So this is kind of eyeballing it, but it'll be good enough for our purposes. So I'm going to move this over a little. Just have this screwed in pretty well. Unless you want to slide. Okay. Interesting. Why is it so tight? All right, anyway, I'm just going to slide over a little bit just to get it perfectly centered. If I measured out properly the first time, I wouldn't have that issue. But this goes to show that you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it close enough. So I'm going to loosen up this one and then press it up against there and then double check. We can test it on the actual part after to see if it'll work fine. So get all 4 grub screws tightened. And then that looks actually a little better. Probably could tune up the distance, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So to test this, you're going to want to take one of your parts like this, and you're going to drop it in. Just like that. So that sits right in the middle, and it'll actually spin perfect. Now is a really good time to test and see if it all looks straight. There's no weird wobbling, etc. This should be super, 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 super straight and smooth running with the one idler, okay? And as you see, there's plenty of space on both ends if this isn't lined up exactly correct. That's fine. Perfectly fine. So we're going to actually build all of these at once. Get them out of the way. Because we know we built them correctly. Let's just get them all built, okay? So I'll put that one aside. And actually, we're going to use one of these as a reference to build our others. So we're going to grab our pulley, slide this in, and then kind of look at this one and like line it up so it's kind of matching. Say, all right, that looks about right, and then screw it in. It doesn't have to be perfect because there's no alignment. It's just kind of, you want the whole thing to be roughly centered on the shaft. Hey, Stone Monkey Research, welcome on in. And welcome in anyone who might be tuning in live over on YouTube if I'm premiering this. If not, then oh well. But I'll most likely premiere this and be in chat as I premiere it. I like to do that. Put that right there. One of these. making sure that I'm pressing this together as one assembly to make sure there's no play and make sure everything is lined up. Oops. Make sure I tighten all the grub screws. All right, thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we have that built. Next couple will go pretty quick. I like doing batch work on these printers as much as possible because once you do one thing, the next one is going to be identical, so you're better off doing it when it's fresh. So build all of your assemblies at the same time. Just make sure that they're correct so you do them all correctly the first time. But I do love the experience building an LDO kit. I do want to try out some other brands in the future. Specifically, I want to test out a kit that comes with pre-printed parts. I think that could be fun. One of the challenges of building a printer like this is having to print all the parts. And if you buy them, well, they get a little expensive because it's not fun to print parts. At least in the sense of, you know, oh, just send a print job to the printer. You have to keep them organized, you have to make sure all the colors are correct, etc. And then most importantly, you have to make sure they're printed well. I did use a combination of my Trident and the Bamboo to print these parts, so they are at PIF printed forward standards, I would say. And that is good enough for this build. You want to make sure that all the tolerances are good, everything snaps together perfectly. You want to really make sure that everything is printed well enough to be able to build this printer. One of my favorite parts to test print is these guys right here. So these will snap together if it all goes well, and they'll line up perfect. You want to make sure there's no warping, that there's no gaps anywhere. So you can take these and really kind of test the fitment of. These are the AB motor mounts. So make sure that that all lines up perfectly, there's no warping, etc. And once you can print these, then go ahead and print the rest of your parts. So for some reason, I always start with that. All right. See if I'll make an error with any of these. Hopefully not. So this will be my second official LDO kit. I built a couple of other printers that have used a lot of LDO parts, including their pretty fantastic bag of components, a fastener kit. So I really like the fastener kit. Oops, this one. I built the V0. That is an LDO frame and fastener kit. The original 2.4 I built was a LDO frame and fastener kit as well, although I did self-source a lot of the components via West 3D. All right, cool. Those are all assembled. I'm going to put these shims away because we don't need them. Go. Put them away. All right, so we're just going to double check that each one of these runs smoothly on one of these printed parts. So again, we're going to take this, spin it, and make sure that there is pretty much, you know, as smooth as possible motion. It all looks straight, so that one looks good. It's going to quickly do all of them. Looks good to me. Looks good. Last one. Perfect. Sweet. Yeah, I love this Voron ruler. It's a good one. Actually, I have a red one too. These are nice. Pick one up if you can. Welcome in, Ballistic. So we just built the main body for the belt drive assembly. Now it does have two additional bearings that go on each side, but we'll install those as we put these together. So we're almost about to do that. So the first thing we need to do is find our belts. So these are little closed loop belts that will be used to act as the belt drive for the gear reduction. So we need to find those, and that will probably be in one of the. It'll be in one of the boxes. LDO kits come with a ton of boxes, so familiarize yourself with what's in each box before starting your build. That's my #1 tip. Go through every single box, poke around. Just so you can familiarize yourself with what's in each box. So this one is probably going to be with the belt. So I see a belt here. Let's see. Yeah, we have a little bag with our closed loop belts. Looks like this. So these are pretty standard for 2.4 build. You should be able to find these pretty much anywhere now because of that. So what we're going to do is grab one of these. In fact, before you start, find any of these parts, grab one, and then find its matching pair. You'll tell if it's matching because it'll line up correctly. This one does not match. This one does match. Okay, easy as that. So find a matching pair, and then put those aside. Grab one of your pulleys, grab a couple bearings, put the bearings on to here. The reason why I didn't do it right away is because they might fall off as you kind of mess around with it. So put both of the bearings on here. Grab your belt, put that on there too. And the belt is going to stick through the smaller part. So start with the smaller, the thinner of the two parts. Stick your belt through. And then this is where you have to align everything. So right now, with everything pressed together, it does not work. So you'll have to line up the center bearing right here, get that in place, and then move each one of these two outer bearings out until they slot into place. So there should be a gap between the bearing and each one of these parts. That is normal. So that belt goes in here. We're going to just do a sanity check and make sure everything runs smooth. And it does. So the belt will stick over on the smaller side. And then we can just slot on our big part right over it. Don't forget the belt, because if you go and screw this together with like 6 screws, you'll have to undo all of them to access the belt. So right now the belt is trapped, which is expected. So at this point, you want to make sure that your shaft is not sticking out excessively. You want it to be kind of flush with each one of these bearings too. So if you find that on one side you're very, very, very far in, then you can change that. So this will be fine. It is functional. Also make sure that your parts mesh together very well. You don't want to see any gap. So that should be fine here. They go together well. If these parts are warped, I would strongly consider reprinting them. At least these ones, because they're functional parts. It's more important to have non-warp parts for these types of things. If you have to use a brim, you can use a brim. Just make sure it's cleaned up very well. So we need M3x40 fasteners. M3x40. So once again, I'm going to dig through this baggie. One thing you might want to do is grab an empty filament box. Here, we'll do a tip. I'm going to grab a spool box right here. And I'm going to dump this whole entire bag of parts into this spool box. I like to keep these boxes because they're pretty useful for random things. So now everything is in this box, and I can look through them easier. So let's see, I'm looking for M3x40. And this is a stocky head, so the round head instead of the flat head. And this will be recessed into the part. M3x40. So let's grab a bunch of these. So we're gonna need 6 per. Oh, these are interesting. These actually are not full screws. Interesting. Is that correct? I don't know if I've ever seen that. But instead of a full screw, part of it is flat. Huh. I can't say that I've ever seen that, nor do I know if it's actually necessary. I'm pretty sure that's the only screws that they have. Are they all like that? Yeah, some of them are. Interesting. I don't know if they've revised their parts, but I've never really seen that. Yeah, interesting. Their M3x30s are like that too. Cool. Neat. So grab 6 of those, whatever they are, and then stick them through right here. Oh, that's cool. So because one side is a little bit thicker, you can kind of put that in like that, and you have to press it in. So it's a very, very tight fit. That's nice, actually. That means that it's going to be perfectly straight. Huh. Need to order titanium hardware. I will stick with this. So those are all in there. I'm gonna grab a larger driver, then screw them in. So make sure that everything is aligned correctly. So make sure that everything looks like it's correct, and then start screwing them in. So this whole stream is probably going to be assembling, or just assembling these Z drives, because they take a little bit of time. But you want to make sure to take your time, get it right the first time. It's very important. You do not want to have to disassemble these because it's one of the first steps. And once again, don't use ball end drivers to tighten, torque down screws. They're useful for getting stuff in a weird area and because you can angle them. But otherwise, don't use them for torquing down. So speaking of torquing, once you get these things torqued, they should stick out of the end a little bit. That's what I found for these. So you want to get them pretty tight. So that should be fine. And they should loosen up because the heat sets are on the outside and it's pulling the heat sets in. So it really doesn't want to do that. Like, they don't want to move, so this should be pretty good. And then just double check that everything still runs smooth. I like to move it by the belt like this. You can kind of rotate it a little bit back and forth. Make sure everything is still smooth. It seems like this is perfectly fine. Awesome. Then repeat that 4 times. Repeat it 4 times. Can't see. Well, it'll run smooth. Just note that it runs smooth. Alright, so let's put in this right here. Grab some more bearings. You can actually zoom out a little bit. That'll be easier. Yeah, I did a blue frame. was like either blue or black. Or, well, blue, black, gray. Really any build, any color besides red. Pick any color. As long as it's not black. You know, if you're building a fun build, come on, just build a... Get a fun color frame. You're gonna look at this thing every day. Might as well be an art piece as much as a functional piece, right? I've never used a black LDO frame. That's funny, huh? Black frames, yes. I've purchased many Zaltech extrusions, and I've actually cut them down to size for a couple builds. But I've never gotten in a black LDO frame that I can think of. Right. Get these screwed in. Now, I've had a lot of comments, like, why aren't you using an electric driver? Why using a hand driver? A lot of these screws, it's only a couple turns to get it tightened. Like, do I really need to pull an electric driver for this? Like, just a couple screws. And I like to hand feel, you know, say, that feels kind of like the right tension. You know, the right tension is kind of when you're screwing it in, and with a light grip on the driver, you start to slip. Right, your grip starts to slip without the driver moving. That's how you know if it's see, like that. That's about the right tension. Just like a loose grip, and the driver starts to rotate, or your hand starts to rotate and the driver stays still. You'll get the hang of it, but it's very important not to over tighten these, because you'll start to induce extra stress on the plastic, but you also don't want them loose. So there is an appropriate amount of tension that you want to tighten these to. Torque spec. Is it worth using a torque wrench for all these? No, not at all. They are designed so that you can have a little bit of play. You go right before the screw gets loose. Then use Loctite to fix your errors, right? You tighten it until you hear a crack, and then you back it off a half turn. That's typically correct. I'm joking. Don't do that. Don't do it. So we're going to make sure this goes smooth. And yeah, just imagine that it's smooth. 2 more times. That's it. 2 more times. You have exactly as many bearings as we need. Great. Clean up as you go. Throw away all the trash as you work. Okay. Had a bearing fall out. It's alright, let's put it back on. Let's see. Nope, that part. Right here. There we go. So these are actually mirrored. We'll have 2 of the same style, one on each opposing corner. So the question is belt drive any better than lead screws? So this has been heavily debated in the Voron community because, you know, you have your 2.4 and Trident. We have some pretty big fans of the Trident. We have pretty big fans of 2.4. I like them both. I actually lean a little bit towards the 2.4 for a couple of reasons, but nothing due to print quality. They both can print just about the same. So if you're trying to get the best possible print quality, you might not get a crazy amount extra by going for a 2.4. Belted Z has its benefits, but A proper lead screw Z is also fine. So there's pros and cons to both of them, both designs like 2.4 and Trident. But there is a benefit of going with a 2.4, and that is the fact that we have a belted Z. With lead screws, we're actually limited on how fast we can move the Z-axis up and down. There's a lot of friction on a lead screw, and if you go too fast, then you have quite a bit of friction. So the upper end movement speed of a lead screw is around, give or take, 25 millimeters a second. With belted Z, well, there really is no limit. So you see what I'm saying? So if I can physically spin my drive motor fast enough so that the output speed is 200 millimeters a second, I can move my Z-axis at 200 millimeters a second. With this configuration, I'm guessing we'll get around 150. So why is that useful? Why do you want a fast Z speed? Well, this is a tool changer, and the tools are mounted at the top, which means all our travel moves are going to be on the Z-axis to change tools. So the faster our Z-axis is, well, the faster we can change tools. I have speedy powers on my 2.4. All right, this is done. One more to go. I have speedy powers on my 2.4, and if you're building this from scratch, I might recommend upgrading to speedy power or super power motors from LDO. Those are 2.5 amp and 2.8 amp motors, and that'll allow you to have a higher end or higher top end speed for just, you know, the fastest possible tool changes. Otherwise, we are testing this with a stock motor kit for 2.4 from LDO. So yeah, we'll see how well that works. I was kind of joking, but also half joking. If I felt like we're limited on our motors, we can actually drive our Z motors at 48 volts so we can get even faster Z movement. Can you imagine that? 48 volts on the Z-axis, but then 24 volts on the AB motors? I'm still playing around with the idea. You know, we have plenty of room under here for electronics, so that could be interesting. But for the sake of this build, I want others to be able to follow along. So if you're just using your own 2.4 kit with reasonably stock motors, then yeah, there's not going to be, you know, I want to represent this build to what I think most people are going to do, and that's buying something like an LDO kit or another kit and using the stock motors. Get the Kraken board and you can do 48 volts in all of them. Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. Maybe we can convince Big Tree Tech to send over one of their overpower boards and play around with that. But I will say, once this gets going, we're not going to change out. We're not going to tinker with it. It's going to just work. We are not tinkering with this machine. Calibration is not going to be... It'll be reasonably easy. I say that. But once it's calibrated, I'm not going to want to change it. That's kind of like having a stock, let's say like a stock 2.4 with the inductive probe and the nozzle end stop, and then changing out your PEI sheet. And every time you change it out, you have to redo your Z offset. I don't want to have to ever go through that. So we're going to stick with whatever board I install. And like I said earlier, it's probably going to be a Manta M8P because of its CAN bus support. I actually did win that from Big Tree Tech over at Rocky Mountain, so technically, you know, they supplied a board for this project. Currently working on a custom printer, recycling parts roll printers. Planning on building a belted Z i3 style called the Frankensender. Oh, I like that. That's cool. Kind of a cool name. All right, there's our parts box. from polymaker filament. So next, let's look at the manual again. Yeah, you don't want to ever use inductive probe, but I mean any, like the stock probing setup where you use the nozzle to press the probe button, like a stock 2.4 Trident. It's kind of like doing that, but having to replace your, or recalibrating your end stock every time you change out your PEI sheet with a different one. Which, if you're getting one of the fancy ones that look like this. Whoa, your build plate can look like this, or this. What the heck? What is this? This is an H1H sheet, and I actually have one for this build. I have a standard PEO sheet, so it's going to look like this. So this is a 350 PEO sheet. It has that kind of fun texture on it. So I'll be using this on this printer. The other side is just PEO, texture PEO, or sorry, PEI, jeez. But I'll have links to these build sheets in the video description if you want to take a look and buy one for yourself. All right, so next we have the feet kind of accent parts. So these ones are an accent color. So in my case, it's gray. Gray is my accent color. So we need M3x8 screws to assemble it, and then M5 nuts. So let's find those, get those assembled. Again, all at once, because that makes it easy. So let's see, we need our M5 hex nuts, and we should have a metric load of M3x8s. Yeah, M3x8s. Take these and then dump them right into your organizer, because that's probably one of the most used screws in this printer build. I have 273 with spares. There should be a spare parts bag. 273. Oh my god. That's a lot of screws. I don't think I can actually dump all of them out either. Like, I can dump out maybe half of them. So I'm just going to fold this back and put it back. Yeah, weird quantity, yeah? So we're going to grab just 4 of these M5 hex nuts. This is not a quick build. It really isn't. It truly takes an experienced builder probably around 20 hours to build. If you're new at building a Voron, I would dedicate a full 40 hours to this thing, at least, to get built and then calibrated and printing, etc. At least 40 hours. All right, so this little nut goes on the bottom side of here, and we'll have to be careful because this will just fall out. We're going to be very careful, and we need to figure out which part goes where. So this is not the correct one. Let's see. So you'll have to line it up like this. So you have the, I'll just dump it out for a second. So you want to line it up so it looks like that. So you have one side that the holes are closer together, and that'll kind of match up with this right here. And then you'll have that hole cut out. If you do it on the other one, then that won't line up properly, because you'll have the yeah, you'll have those two on the right side, but then your other side is wrong. So take a few seconds and figure out which one it is, and then get your screw in place. And then be very careful. I like to just slide it over and then line it up. The screw shouldn't fall out. It shouldn't fall out, I don't think, by the design of it. Let's see. It should just be like held on by a part of the the print. How does this work? There's even a little cutout here for it. I think if you come in from, yeah, from that side, that works better. So get it lined up. Don't lose that nut. Make sure the nut doesn't fall out. A non-stop stream until it's built. Oof. That would be a lot. That's a lot. So this part actually does two things. One, it acts as a little bit of a accent piece, so you can screw your feet in. It also allows you to put a nut in to screw your feet, and it also holds these two pieces together. So on this long side right here, it's actually going to act as another way of holding the pieces together. So there's a seam down the middle of that. If I hold it correctly, you can see that. There's a seam. So to make sure everything is lined up, and that's not going to split apart. Helps if I put the screw in. If you screw it too many times, make sure you actually have a screw in there. That's your problem. Just get this nice and snug. Don't go too crazy. Looks like that. And you should have a nut in here that is still in and hasn't fallen out. Triple check that, otherwise you'll have issues. Make sure that belt kind of stays on the pulley too. Repeat this process 4 times, 3 times. Hybrid says, as I watch your build streams, I'm getting confidence that I can build one of these. Of course, at 20 hours, it'll probably take you at least 20 days to build. And that's fine. Honestly, that's perfectly fine. Take your time when you build a Voron. It's your printer. Any custom printer, it's yours. Make it yours by spending enough time to make sure everything is set up right. You know, have a build guide up or a build series. I'm sure at least one person has a start to finish build series where they build a stock one of these. If you have any questions, pause the video, stop, go to the Voron Discord. If you're building a Voron, utilize the Voron Discord. There are channels for each one of these printers. Ask your question. It might sound dumb. I've asked dumb questions before. Sometimes just asking the question, you get the answer. So utilize your resources. You can ask me for help too. I can't spend, you know, as much time as some of these people can, but, you know, I am a resource. I built a lot of these. Ask your questions. If you want to join my Patreon to get even greater support, you can do that too. More than happy to help you out. Find a time that works best for both of us. Do you have to build it with the intention of being a tool changer, or could you add that later? So I mentioned that previously, and that the answer is sort of. Sort of. So you can take a stock 2.4 and convert it, but there's a couple of changes I'll be making off the bat. Number one is no drag chains. No drag chains. We won't be able to have drag chains for the final version. So we'll have to go umbilical from the start. So we're going to have our whatever tool we use to start off with, that'll have to be set up umbilical. So in my situation, I could go straight into the tap mechanism. Well, not the tap mechanism, but the whatever Tapchanger mechanism. I could do that, but I have decided to build this as a stock-ish single tool fixed tool head, like one tool head, without the ability to do tool changing. So I'm just going to use a dragon burner right here, and I've showed this off previously. I'm going to use the adapter for Voron. This is MGN 12, so a typical 2.4 mount. So I'll be able to mount one of my Dragon Burner tool heads, get that assembled, test it, make sure that everything works good, and then go and essentially remove the tool head and then install the Tapchanger mechanism or Stealthchanger, whatever I use, which in this case is this right here. So I'll be installing this. This mounts to the printer. Then this is the little receiving carriage that goes up and down. So I'll be able to, I think it's backwards. There we go. Be able to go up and out. That's the docking motion. Pretty cool. And then Dragon Burner will mount perfectly right to here, I think. Yeah. Maybe. It looks like I didn't account for this little nub right here. Oh, there's a spacer, right. Okay, I see. I see it now. So there's a little spacer that goes in, which I actually printed. It's this right here. Ah, smart, smart. I see what you did there. So a little spacer, and then that attaches to here. The spacer is there so you can print this flat and then put this on after. I might recommend some way of like indexing it so it's easier to install, but we can figure that out later. I have a couple of ideas just looking at it. So this is our, tool head style mounted onto that. So it should be a pretty, not seamless transition, but a very quick transition over to the other mechanism. Say it's easy to remove cable chains? Yeah, it is. But with the cable chains, you have all the wiring that goes with it. So you might as well just go straight to the final wiring. So you don't have to redo that. Probably the biggest pain. Oh, I think I lost my nut here. Yeah, so I think I lost my nut. Let me fix that. I might recommend installing the feet, or at least the screw for the feet onto here, just to make sure that nut doesn't fall out. Yeah, in my situation, the nut came loose and is sitting on here. Make sure that nut is in place and hasn't fallen out. Otherwise, you will have a bad day. You'll have to take apart stuff. Thank you, Nightcore. Go. So yeah, you can just take the M5 by whatever screw that the feet would use. When do you install the feet? When do you install the feet? Not until later. It's an M5 by 16. So if you want, you can find your M5 by 16. Is that what these are? I think that's what the ones you use to install the frame. And then you can just screw it in. Like so. So that way you can't lose that screw. It should stay in there if it's in there, but just as a sanity check, I'm gonna put in all of these and then make sure that screw is in there. And now that there's a screw in there, it's not gonna come out. So I recommend doing that. I don't know why you can't just install the feet now. Guess you could, but just gonna do this for now. There's many ways of building these printers. I'm just following the guide. I've already missed a couple steps. All right, and lastly, put this last one on. Getting pretty good at this. So So a question on these larger Vorons, what is the fastest you can print and still keep great quality? Well, the standard profiles for a Voron are designed for the bigger printers in mind. Like that's whatever those profiles are set to, that's kind of what you can expect as the fastest speeds. So what you can do is open up your slicer and like Orca slicer, and then just select whatever printer you are thinking about. So this would be a Voron 2.4 350. So you can import that and then just look at the speeds. Look at the stock speeds. And then you'll notice that they're not crazy fast. And that's on purpose. Vorons are not supposed to be fast printers. They're just overbuilt, and because they're overbuilt, you can go fast on them, right? Because they're built so well, you can also print fast. What material do you use to print these parts? So all Vorons are printed in ABS or ASA. In fact, the parts are pre-scaled, so they're scaled up to account for the shrinkage on ABS. Technically, you can use PLA for printer parts. You can also use PETG. But the issue is with PLA, it will eventually melt if you have your printer in enclosure. Vorons are designed to be enclosed, so the chamber temp is at the same temperature as the parts will start to melt. That means that your screws will start to get loose, and then it'll all kind of just deteriorate. PETG, I believe, either cracks under heat or creeps. So PETG is a pretty poor material for these types of printer parts. So ABS is ideal because it has that higher temperature resistance, very easy to print, and also has a little bit of give to it. So it's not completely stiff. It allows for some amount of flexibility. Hopefully that's helpful. Ooh, we have to get our motors. Well, that's fun. Let's find our motors. Motors. We have linear rails. Should be around here somewhere. Cables, fasteners. Ah, motor kit. It's a big box and it's gonna be heavy. Oh boy. Oh. Big chonking box. So this right here has all of our motors in it. So we have motors, yay! So these are kind of fun. There are, let's put it right here, can I? There are 4 motors for the Z-axis. These are 1.8 degree motors, and they have a connector on them, and those are the cables. But the AB motors are 1.9 degree for apparently extra, resolution. There's also debates on whether you should be using 1.8 or 0.9 degrees. These have technically twice the resolution as a 1.8 degree motor. So they're not going to be as fast, but they should have pretty good quality. And I've used these on my Trident, and they seem pretty good. 0.9 degrees if I said 1.9. So 1.8 degree for the Z-axis, and then 0.9 degree for these ABs. And these have a little bit of a pigtail. These are high temp motors. So they have a fixed connector that they have added a crimp on, and then they'll include an extension in the box. So I need all of these Z motors. All of them. All of them. I think the start keeps getting darker and darker. Oh, I do have it dark. Oh, interesting. Oh, sorry about that. Must have hit a button on my camera. So let's get these fasteners out of the way for now. You want a lot of room to build a printer. If you don't have a lot of room, just get very familiar with what's in each box, and then take them out and put them back as you go. This is a newer version of this printer. So we actually get a little NEMA 14 pancake stepper. So this is for extruder. I'm not using this, so I'm actually going to save this for another project. Anywhere where I need one of these nice LDO pancake steppers. So custom extruder or other thing. So put that aside for now. Just put everything back in the box. Put it back, put it back. LDO also does provide a lot of tools. One of them is this. This is a Weller style heat insert tool. So you'll be able to go to somewhere like Home Depot if you live in the US, then just buy a soldering iron, and this should fit in it. So this will get you started with heat inserts. But I'm actually using a CNC Kitchen version for the TS101. TS101. You avoid the 0.9 high temps. They're loud. I haven't really found that they're loud, honestly. I've even someone that tried it, and they're pretty reasonable. You don't have a lot of room to put assembled printers. You don't know what you do to build one. Oh, hey, well, you see what I'm doing right here, right? I'm working kind of in this space. So, you know, just it's not, it really, I could do the whole thing just on this amount of space. Essentially, the amount of space that the printer is going to sit on, if you absolutely had to. Just take your time and make sure you keep everything organized. Micron 180 is a pretty nice build. But if you don't have a big printer, it might be worth spending a little bit more to just get... I really like the 350 size 2.4 just because it scales up very well. And, you know, even if you don't use 350, you'll get the possibility of using a 350 if you have to put something big. So this is the printer that I would say to go big. A Trident, I would strongly recommend 300 as a maximum. LDO is a very special kit that is 300 cubed build volume instead of the stock like 250Z. It's almost 300 on the Z. Dom, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. And Wolf, thank you for stopping in. You're learning so much. Well, that's great. Hopefully at the end of this you've learned something. That's the goal. Gotta figure out. So we need 16 tooth pulleys. Okay. So that's these right here. Once again, thank you, Tom, for the 5 gifted subs. Very, very nice. You already found something you want to print that won't fit in your printer? Oh yeah, you're gonna find a lot of those. 300 is a really good size. 300. I really like 300 printers. Enjoy the streams so you can catch them. Yeah, I tend to stream kind of at a weird time for a lot of people. So, if you can catch them, great. If not, I'm trying to put these streams onto YouTube when I'm done. So, I have some reasoning behind that, and I think that YouTube doesn't like streams. I mean, I don't think. I know they don't. They don't have any interface on mobile to like browse streams. It's really awkward to try to find streams. And a lot of people don't know that streams exist even when they're done. So my goal is to go live on Twitch and then post on YouTube after. So I get both audiences being able to enjoy the content. And if I need to edit something out, I can do that. And I can even premiere these streams onto YouTube as if I'm actually streaming live. So it's almost like 2 times the content. It's kind of fun. Now, this is a hobby for me. I do this for fun. I really just like, you know, helping out people, making sure that they can get their printers built and, you know, give tips and tricks here when I can. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. But I have learned a lot. I'll put it that way. I've learned a lot building printers and helping people troubleshoot their prints, to where some of these things that I know, I sometimes forget that people just don't realize. So that's why I like to check out some of these lower end printers and try them out and make sure that I can still print like on an original Ender 3. Sometimes it's fun to see if you can print on a older, slow bed slinger that's Bowden. Spoiler alert, you can just print slower. Yeah, Bob from California likes my shorts. I've been posting a couple of shorts, but if I'm going to put any effort into something, it's going to be into a video. So coming in 2024, expect some form of videos on YouTube. Hopefully they're going to be educational, like, you know, hey, top 10 things to know about this or that or whatever. Because I do all that in stream anyway. I can just take exactly what I'm doing now, record it, get a little bit of B-roll going, and then it's posted on YouTube. It's really, I keep telling myself, it's not that hard. It just takes time. So I gotta really just crack down and do it. Wearing shorts? No. That's funny. That's hilarious. Even those who claim to be experts or not. Yeah, that's dangerous. Unfortunately, I do know some content creators that claim things that are just it's just not correct, and it's very frustrating. Or you can really tell that they're just trying to make money and saying, yeah, buy this printer because I have an affiliate link. Like, it's very obvious when you do that. That being said, I do have affiliate links to some of these printers, but I will only recommend printers to buy that I actually would recommend. For example, I do recommend Bamboo Lab printers. I have an X1 Carbon. I know many people that have varying, you know, Bamboos, whether it's the P1S, P1P, and the new A1 printers, and they're pretty damn good. Like I said earlier, I printed a lot of these Voron parts on my Bamboo. So if you don't have a printer yet, and you really want to build a Voron, well, buy a Bamboo P1S, which is an enclosed printer. You'll be able to easily print ABS on it. Buy yourself a flexible PEI if it doesn't come with one. Print all your Voron parts on there, and then build a Trident or 2.4 or whatever. It's a really good tool to have. Plus, if you get it with an AMS, you can do multi-color printing. It's just a real good printer to have. So if you're interested in buying a Bamboo, I do an affiliate link, and I do recommend them. Yeah, sometimes if you feel like there's no content, or like if there's lacking amounts of content, start making the content yourself. Motors, yay. Now I didn't fine tune the pulley position. We're gonna do that after it's installed. Because I find that, honestly, using that little mechanism to the jig to align it, there's some variance in it anyway. So we're just gonna roughly install these, and then, you know, get them centered, and then tighten them up. Welcome in, Thessian. I believe that's how you pronounce your name. We have built 4 of these. 4 of these. That's it. Now we are about to install the motor brackets. Okay, so we have 4 of those. Those are here. Before the stream, I went through and kind of separate all the parts by where they go. I built enough Vorons where I kind of just know what parts are which. So this one, we do have a motor orientation. So the flat side of this part will want the cable sticking on the other side. Okay? So when we install it, the cable will be away from the gear reduction assembly. Love your bamboo, but your Voron is where it's at. You like to build, but being able to send a print and not babysit is really nice. That's why I use my bamboo, because like on the Trident, I have to soak it, I have to preheat it. If I want to print ABS, I gotta load filament manually. But on the bamboo, I can just kind of send a print job to it. And then there you go, it's done. It just kind of prints and does everything for it. It's a very lazy printer, and sometimes that's exactly what you want. The bamboo has allowed me to do way more projects than I would have done otherwise. Like, even this little train that one of the things fell off. I didn't actually finish this project. I started it. There's 1,000 pieces for this, and yeah, I never finished it. But projects like this, where there's a lot of parts, having a bamboo makes it easy to do all the multicolor bits for this, etc. So I've done way more because I own a bamboo, even if I built 500 Vorons. Just my take on it. I'm 3x8s for these. So the flat side right here, so there's 2 flat sides technically, but there's one side that's not really flat, then a little side that's flat. This little side is going to align with your motor cable. So get that nice and tight. In fact, I like the bamboo so much that I'm looking at getting another one. One of them that I can kind of dedicate to multicolor prints. So there's a lot of plates set up for a bamboo, and it's really convenient to just send a print to it, pre-sliced, pre-painted, etc. But with the Toolchanger, I don't know. I feel like I might go back on that and might only need one. But having 2 is useful if you're doing a lot of projects. So maybe. So just do this 4 times. Just find the flat side of one of these, match it up with this, and screw it on. And when you're done, they'll all be lined up appropriately. Yeah, time does fly. I've been streaming for about 2 hours. 2 hours, and it goes by really quick. And look how much we've done in 2 hours. We haven't installed anything onto the frame. Nothing. That being said, this is probably the most painstaking process of the printer. So the majority of the assembly goes into these steps. And this is why it takes so much longer to build a 2.4 than a Trident. Because Trident, the Z-axis is a motor with a lead screw attached. That's it. We haven't even put on the linear rails into the frame. I'll do that off stream, get them all aligned correctly. I'm not going to show every single step to build a 2.4 on this stream, so don't expect it. I've mentioned that a couple times. If you're using this as a build guide, maybe you'll get some tips and tricks for building yours, but if you want to actually reference a proper build guide, I would look to someone like Steve Build or Modbot, who do almost nothing off stream and spend about 5 months building a printer. But at the end of it, you get a nice build series that's start to finish. So there you go. So I don't think I'm actually going to install these in the frame today because I still got to get the bottom cover installed. I don't know if I can have these installed for that. So we're just going to finish getting all of these set up as best as possible, which I think this is the last step. Then we'll call it. Bob from California, thank you for the tier 1 sub. 16 months, that's a lot of months. Thank you. Been streaming for 16 months over on Twitch, and it's changed a lot since then. I have almost a studio to record in. It's kind of crazy. It feels like I'm almost a legitimate YouTuber. It's fun. I have fun here. Hopefully you guys have fun too. I know these are just build streams where I'm just building and talking, but hopefully it's enjoyable and you can put this on in the background, do some other things, and just kind of listen. Speaking of which, I need to drink some water because I've been talking almost non-stop for 2 hours. That is the last of that. Yeah, I think we're done. Let me check. Because next thing is installing this onto the frame. I had a good Christmas. Thank you for asking. It's just after the holidays and when I'm streaming this. All right. Next, yeah, we gotta install this in the frame, which I'm not gonna do because I need to install the bottom panel first, the deck panel. So if you missed it, I misplaced my little angle brackets. They're somewhere around here, but I'll just have to locate them before proceeding. But that's all stuff that I'm not really gonna show on stream because it's all aligning and tinkering and yeah, not a ton of. It might be interesting to see, but it's not a lot of fun. So I'm just gonna do that off stream. So the one thing I'll have to do next is make sure that that pulley that I put on is aligned correctly. So what you want to do is take these two parts right here and then look at it from the side or from up top, and just make sure that that pulley is lined up correctly. In fact, I think I have it correct. So I installed it. This is an LDO kit, and I have my motor flush with the end of this. And if I look on this printer, it is the same thing. Yeah. So I have the pulley sticking out a little bit, but it's almost flush. So maybe I have to move this out a little. We'll see once it's installed. So what else is there? I mean, there's a lot we can do, but I think for now it's a good point to kind of put it on pause. So if you're watching this live on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. We have much more content. Make sure to check out the other videos in this build series. Thank you for tuning in. I have links for all this stuff in the video description, including some affiliate links if you want to purchase some parts. If you want to purchase an LDO kit to do this project, I'll have that linked below. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you on part 2. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, good morning, good evening, and goodbye.